So 8-1 intake. This is the little tube on the bottom that everybody trimps off. This just goes through the intake into this bowl area, which will collect oil. And then after you shut the truck off, it's supposed to drain out. No other tubes. But on stock intakes, there's a hole right here on the front of the intake. And when you fill the oil on these things, that's where the oil goes into the motor. But there's also a tube right here. That tube is in the intake right there. It comes and it connects to that also. And this tube comes up, goes into the throttle body right here in the back, and comes out right there. And it's just open air. So air from your intake tube goes in that hole unrestricted through the intake out here, goes into the block, comes around and goes in that tube and into the intake. That's the stock PCV system. If you pinch this off, it's just pinched off, then air will no longer be coming this way into that hole and through the throttle body and down. It will come out of that hole and straight into the intake. So that's how they're designed. Here we are on a stock motor. So most people drill the valve cover from the valve cover with like a -8 line, go to a catch can. Then from the catch can, you go into your intake tube. After the MAF sensor. Don't go before the MAF sensor because you can introduce oil into the MAF sensor. Here is that hole in the actual intake. It's a little tiny hole in the throttle body, but in the actual intake it's quite large. You have to block this off if you want all the air coming out of the block to go through a catch can. If you don't block this hole off, air is going to still come out of the block through this hole and into the intake. So you have to block this off to go to, and then you would just drill the valve cover through a catch can and into the intake tube.